Assassination attempts on U.S. presidents have shocked the nation throughout history. While some ended in tragedy, others were thwarted by sheer luck or the bravery of individuals. Today, I will explore every attempt on the life of a U.S. president, uncovering the stories behind these dark moments in American history. Abraham Lincoln. Our journey begins with the most infamous assassination, President Abraham Lincoln. On April 14, 1865, John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer, shot Lincoln at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln succumbed to his injuries the next morning, marking the first successful assassination of a U.S. president. Andrew Johnson. On the same night Lincoln was shot, a plot to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson was also underway. George Atzerodt, an accomplice of Booth, was assigned to kill Johnson. However, Atzerodt lost his nerve and fled, sparing Johnson's life and ensuring the continuity of the government. James A. Garfield. President James A. Garfield faced an assassination attempt on July 2, 1881, by Charles Guiteau, a disgruntled office seeker. Guiteau shot Garfield at a train station in Washington, D.C. Garfield battled his injuries for weeks, but ultimately died on September 19, 1881. His assassination highlighted the need for civil service reform in the U.S. William McKinley. President William McKinley was assassinated on September 6, 1901, by anarchist Leon Czolgosz at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York. McKinley succumbed to his wounds 8 days later. This event led to the presidency of Theodore Roosevelt and marked the third assassination of a sitting U.S. president. Theodore Roosevelt. Although not a sitting president at the time, Theodore Roosevelt survived an assassination attempt on October 14, 1912. John Schrank shot Roosevelt during a campaign speech in Milwaukee. Remarkably, Roosevelt continued his speech despite the bullet wound, demonstrating his resilience and determination. Franklin D. Roosevelt. On February 15, 1933, just weeks before his inauguration, President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt survived an assassination attempt in Miami. Giuseppe Zangara fired shots at Roosevelt but missed, instead injuring several others and killing Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak. Harry S. Truman. On November 1, 1950, President Harry S. Truman was the target of an assassination attempt by Puerto Rican nationalists Oscar Colasso and Griselio Torresola. The attempt took place at Blair House, where Truman was residing during White House renovations. The assailants were thwarted by Secret Service agents, and Truman was unharmed. John F. Kennedy. President John F. Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, remains one of the most shocking moments in American history. Lee Harvey Oswald was accused of firing the fatal shots from a nearby building. Kennedy's death deeply impacted the nation and continues to be the subject of extensive analysis and speculation. Richard Nixon. In 1974, Samuel Bick plotted to assassinate President Richard Nixon by hijacking a plane and crashing it into the White House. Bick's plan was foiled when he was shot by law enforcement before the plane took off. Nixon remained unaware of the immediate threat to his life. Gerald Ford. President Gerald Ford faced 2 assassination attempts within a month in 1975. On September 5th, Lynette Squeaky Fromm, a follower of Charles Manson, aimed a pistol at Ford in Sacramento, but was subdued by the Secret Service. 17 days later, Sarah Jane Moore fired a shot at Ford in San Francisco, narrowly missing him. Ronald Reagan. On March 30, 1981, President Ronald Reagan was shot and injured by John Hinckley Jr. outside the Washington Hilton Hotel. Hinckley's motive was to impress actress Jodie Foster. Reagan survived the attack and recovered, but the incident raised concerns about presidential security and mental health issues. Bill Clinton. President Bill Clinton faced an assassination attempt on October 29, 1994. Francisco Martin Duran fired a semi-automatic rifle at the White House from the fence. Fortunately, Clinton was inside and unharmed. Duran was tackled by bystanders and later sentenced to 40 years in prison. Barack Obama. During Barack Obama's presidency, there were several thwarted plots. One notable attempt occurred on November 11, 2011, when Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez fired a semi-automatic rifle at the White House, believing Obama to be the devil. Ortega Hernandez was apprehended and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Donald Trump. On June 18, 2016, Michael Steven Sanford attempted to grab a police officer's gun at a Trump rally in Las Vegas, intending to assassinate then-candidate Donald Trump. Sanford was quickly subdued and later sentenced to 1 year in prison and subsequent deportation. Donald Trump too. On July 13, 2024, during a campaign rally, former president and presidential candidate Donald Trump was struck in the ear by a gunshot fired by Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old from Pennsylvania. One civilian was killed, and 2 others were critically injured. The shooter was swiftly neutralized by a Secret Service agent. This incident marked the first time in over 40 years that a presidential candidate and former president was injured. These assassination attempts serve as grim reminders of the dangers faced by those who hold the highest office in the land. While some presidents were tragically lost, others narrowly escaped death. Each attempt has shaped the nation's history and underscored the importance of vigilance and security.